A security specialist notes that an organization's authentication systems lack mandatory password length constraints. The infrastructure includes two main components: AWS IAM users that are federated with an internal Active Directory, and Amazon Cognito user pools that support a custom cloud application. The goal is to determine the correct steps to establish a mandatory minimum password length for these systems.
The options are: Option A, modify the password complexity settings within the AWS IAM account configuration. Option B, adjust the password strength requirements within the Amazon Cognito user pool settings. Option C, modify the group policy objects in the local Active Directory to enforce length requirements. Option D, deploy an AWS organization's service control policy to mandate password length across IAM and Cognito. Option E, attach an IAM policy with a conditional statement enforcing a minimum password length.
Consider how authentication is managed in each of these environments and where the authority for password policy resides. Each service handles credential requirements differently based on whether they are locally managed or federated from an external directory. In my view, the correct approach requires two separate actions: selecting option B and option C. To address the cloud application, the security engineer must adjust the password strength requirements within the Amazon Cognito user pool settings. Cognito allows administrators to define a password policy directly for its local user pools, which is the necessary step for that specific component. For users federated from the on-premises Active Directory, the directory acts as the source of truth for authentication. Therefore, the engineer must modify the group policy objects in the local Active Directory to enforce the length requirements. These settings will effectively govern the federated identities. The other options are incorrect. AWS IAM password policies only apply to IAM users created directly within AWS and do not affect federated identities. Additionally, service control policies and standard IAM policies are designed for access control and service limitations, not for enforcing password length for authentication databases. A key exam tip is to always identify the authentication authority for each identity source before choosing a configuration method.